Buttigieg is the openly gay mayor from South Bend, Indiana. He graduated from Harvard, went to Oxford, and is a Rhodes Scholar. Buttigieg won a JFK Award for an essay he wrote about Bernie Sanders, of all people, a Democrat he's competing against in the primaries. But what are his views on the very policies that Bernie Sanders championed, like Medicare for All? So while Bernie Sanders is extremely blunt and transparent in communicating that his plan would do away with private insurance companies, Buttigieg says he's open to considering Medicare as a public option in a healthcare system in which private insurance does play a role. Many have compared him to Obama, and perhaps this is one of the reasons why. Other factors, such as his young age and inexperience, also play a role, although Obama had a little more experience on the national stage as a senator. When it comes to money in politics, Buttigieg has accepted contributions from donors in the past. His top donors from 2018, just last year, include Gurley Leap Automotive Group President Mike Leap, who donated $10,000, engineering firm Lockmuller Group CEO Michael Hinton, who donated $7,500, and Mark Neal, the COO of the real estate firm Bradley Company, who donated about $4,500. Buttigieg's top corporate donors last year included Michigan's Four Winds Casino and Michigan-based Selge Construction Company. These donations are important to keep in mind because Mayor Pete wanted to rebuild areas of South Bend that were riddled with deserted homes. His 1,000 Homes in 1,000 Days initiative clearly caught the attention of donors who wanted municipal construction contracts. He wasn't chosen as DNC chair. However, he raised more than $500,000 in the first 6 months of 2017 alone. Top contributors included Carolyn Schwab Pomerantz, who's the senior vice president of Charles Schwab. She gave about $10,000. Facebook chief product officer Chris Cox, who gave $33,000, and Facebook co-founder Chris Hughes, who gave $5,000. Look, to be fair, as Buttigieg runs for president, he has pledged to take no corporate PAC money. He has also agreed to reject donations from the fossil fuel industry. So let's take a look at Mayor Pete's job history. When it comes to his job history, there are some concerns. According to the Center for Public Integrity, after Buttigieg graduated from the University of Oxford with a coveted Rhodes Scholarship, he worked for 3 years at the consulting firm McKinsey & Company, focusing on energy and economic development. McKinsey Group has been riddled with controversy over the years. The company was instrumental in helping pharmaceutical companies like Purdue push painkillers like OxyContin. In his book, The Shortest Way Home, Buttigieg describes his experience at McKinsey Group as a great learning experience. When New York Magazine asked him about this, he simply replied that he hadn't followed the story about Purdue Pharma. That's a strange thing to say as the country is still suffering from an opioid addiction and overdose epidemic. McKinsey Group also collaborated with the Saudi government, and when New York Magazine asked Buttigieg about that, he replied, quote, "I think you have a lot of smart, well-intentioned people who sometimes view the world in a very innocent way. I wrote my thesis on Graham Greene, who said that innocence is like a dumb leper that has lost his bell, wandering the world, meaning no harm. But the cruelty and brutality of the Saudis is well known, especially among political consultants. Playing dumb is a pretty pathetic and sleazy way of making excuses for past flaws." One of the major political issues Americans in general care most about is income and wealth inequality. Current affairs writer Nathan Robinson points to a portion of Buttigieg's book where he writes about a 2001 progressive protest at Harvard. The students demanded higher pay for custodial and food workers on campus. Buttigieg mentions how dismissive he was toward the protesters, writing, quote, "That spring, a daily diversion on the way to class was to see which national figure, Cornel West or Ted Kennedy one day, John Kerry or Robert Reich another, had turned up in the yard to encourage the protesters." Striding past protesters and the politicians addressing them, On my way to a pizza and politics session with a journalist like Matt Bai or governor like Howard Dean, I did not guess that the students poised to have a greatest near-term impact were not the social justice warriors at the protests, but a few mostly apolitical geeks who were quietly at work in Kirkland House, Zuckerberg et al. First, it's strange to me that a Democrat who seems to be positioning himself as a progressive would refer to these protesters as social justice warriors, which is a right-wing talking point meant to belittle people. But more importantly, why didn't he see the value in that protest? He referred to it as a diversion. These were workers on the same campus, the wealthiest college in the world, or at least one of the wealthiest colleges in the world. His reaction to the protest demonstrated a giant disconnect between the working poor and his proud elitism.